Well, what's all this got to do with Stratton?
Can't you add two and two? Stratton's a Christian, right? She's in the Bible and Jesus and stuff. So I'll pretend to become a Christian. All I do is learn the lingo. I'll have her by the end of the month.
You're dreaming, man. Stratton's not an idiot like the other two chicks.
She'll see right through you.
We'll see, we'll see.
Welcome back to Boys Bible Study. We are back. It's your favorite boys. As always, I'm Ash. I am here with
Scott
and Julian.
Today, we're hanging out with our your favorite boys. That is, of course, the Christiano Brothers, specifically Dave Christiano, legendary Christian filmmaker. This is his 1987 film, The Pretender. Where does this lie in the Christiano's filmography? I feel like this is on the earlier side, right?
Yeah, this one's early on. It was, I think this was Dave Christiano's second short that he directed.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Scott. According to IMDb, this comes in 1987. And when it comes all the way, okay?
That's right.
You come to Jesus, you come all the way.
If you come to Jesus, come all the way. If I ever come to Jesus, I'll come all the way.
Oh, right, because the Daylight Zone is 1986. So this would be, because he did the Daylight Zone first. So this is his follow-up.
That's right. And now, regular listeners of the show will absolutely be familiar with the last name Christiano, not just because it's similar to Christian, but these brothers, Dave and Rich, are absolutely some of the most important Christian filmmakers. I mean, everyone knows, Kirk Cameron, David A.R. White, Kevin Sorbo. But if you've been to Sunday school in the 90s and the 2000s, it's actually quite likely you were exposed to one of the Christiano Brothers films, whether or not you realized it. What are some of the ones we've covered for the pod so far? It's been a couple at this point.
We've covered Time Changer. Mm-hmm. We've covered The Daylight Zone. We've covered
Secrets of Jonathan Sperry.
Right,
Absolutely.
Secrets of Jonathan Sperry.
Iconic
End of the
movie.
Harvest.
End of the Harvest, an early David A.R. White starring role, a Christian film by the
Crime
Christianos.
of the Age.
Crime of the Age, we covered with our friend Dan Koch of You Have Permission podcast. That was a free episode a couple months ago.
Did we do The Appointment, or did we just watch that together?
We just watched that together, and we will cover it at some point because it's
Certainly.
also really good.
Certainly.
And then I'm sure we're going to cover Play the Flute because that's finally out.
Ooh, can't
Christian
wait
Yes.
to see Play the Flute. Oh my
So
gosh.
be on the lookout for those.
Totally.
In the future.
We also covered 7th Street Theater, which is like Dave Christiano's like very bizarre passion project, of which he produced 64 episodes from 2007 to 14, which I've got to say, no offense, Dave, ranks as one of the highest wastes of time in the field of television. I really just I think that is, honestly, that's one of my least favorite, just like quality wise. That's probably one of my least favorite Christiano things, and he made the most of it.
The Christian version of the sunk cost fallacy.
It's also the only thing we've watched that tricked us into watching twice as much as we had intended.
Yes.
Because they unnecessarily dragged out the episodes, so they ended on a cliffhanger, and then we had to watch a whole nother one.
So
Right.
stupid.
Yeah, that was the cliffhanger was who is going to win the prank war.
Yeah.
One of the worst cliffhangers of all time. I'm looking at IMDb. There are 64 episodes of 7th Street Theater, at least many of which are available on Tubi.tv, the best website. But that means that there are somewhere around 30 hours of 7th Street Theater available. How many people have watched this TV show? It's miserable. But overall, I mean, we love the Christiano Brothers. Like, this is not to say they're bad filmmakers. In fact, quite the opposite. They really,
No, they're just prolific.
Yeah. Yes.
Everything else we mentioned has been fantastic. So he has one stinker. It's,
right.
he's a movie maker. He branched out into TV. It didn't quite hit.
That's exactly.
That's a pretty
my
good
read.
success rate.
Yeah,
I think so.
Totally. So yeah, but we're in early period Cristiano films. The summary of this film claims it is one of the most widely seen Christian youth films for its time. However, I personally was not exposed to this one. Scott, did you ever see this one growing up?
No. Nope.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know why. I guess it remains to be seen how widely seen this was. If two of the most preeminent Christian film podcasters did not get exposed to it in their youth,
maybe they're pretending.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Maybe whoever wrote that is trying to pick up somebody.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to pick up a Christian podcaster by writing that one. The Pretender is a film about faking it till you make it. In this case, of course, what are you faking? Being a Christian, being a follower of Jesus Christ. Why would anyone stoop to such a sick level?
I don't know. Why don't we get Congress on the horn?
You know what the opposite of Congress is, right?
What's that?
It's progress.
Oh, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, let's talk about The Pretender. I guess just a tiny bit more background just on the cast of The Pretender. We have some repeats from other things that we've seen. Specifically, I wanted to recognize Donnie Keshawarz, who is Keshawars, I might be saying his name wrong, who is back. He also appears in
Crime of the Age.
And as we pointed out on that episode with Dan Koch, he is an actor from The Sopranos. That's right. I mean, he's had a very long career. He's still working, in fact, but we being who we are, just are really proud of him for the fact that he was a Sopranos cast member as Muhammad, who is a Muslim patron of the Bing. So very interesting actor. When he was young, he was in 2 Christiano Brothers films. That's where he got his start. In fact, that's the first thing on his IMDb. Oh, we also have that lady from Time Changer. We have Crystal Robbins.
Yes.
Time Changer. Man, that movie. Kind of a snoozer.
It's a great one.
We love it, though. Do we love it, though? Don't get me wrong.
It's a wonderful premise. There's a lot of very strong elements. It's maybe dragged a little longer than it needed to.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like they make these short movies and they probably play in churches more at this length. But people don't. Hollywood doesn't see it as an actual feature. But like the pacing in this that we just watched is fantastic.
Yeah. And I would actually say that if anything, the pacing in The Pretender, which clocks in at about 38 minutes, I actually think that the pacing may have erred on the other side of what we usually see in Christian films. It's quite frequent for them to sort of drag by the end. This one honestly was like so fast that it was difficult for me to keep up at times.
I felt like I was watching Dark City.
I was thinking His Girl Friday, where they're like in the newsroom talking a mile a minute.
And my personal point of reference was Gilmore Girls. It reminded me of a Gilmore Girls episode where they're just fucking yapping up a storm over here. And we're just
where
trying
they
to
would
keep
have
up.
like 200-page scripts for an episode because there's so much dialogue.
I mean, that's how it felt like.
There are so many cuts in this movie and like so many scene changes. I thought that this was like taking place over the course of several years, but in actuality, it's like, I think like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
right.
the first 3 weeks back to school. So
Yeah.
this is an August movie. So
Yeah. Hey,
Yes.
everyone
Happy
out there.
August, everybody.
Happy August. I hope you're enjoying your summer vacations. Hope you're brushing up on that summer reading list. There's only one book on our summer reading list, okay?
Mhm.
And that's the Bible.
What month did you guys go back to school in?
Always September.
yeah, September.
Oh, I was like last week of August.
Gotcha.
Not me. Always
We were
September.
out by the middle
Yeah.
of May.
Some people have to go back like first or second week of August. It's
I
crazy.
know, man.
Yeah.
Let these kids live.
They kind of like built in snow days for our school.
Oh, that
So
makes
it's like
sense.
get started a little earlier because you know you're gonna miss like probably a total of a week every year.
Sure. That makes sense.
Plus, you know, days when people have to recover from pretending to be Christian.
Takes a lot out of you. Let's get into it. Let's talk our way through The Pretender. Along the way, we are going to have a number of topics to explore. One of these is the Christian sexual impulse, the Christian horny teens. This is a Christian movie of nubile young people exploring each other. Okay, it's a little bit hot. All right.
Always a weird topic for adults to cover.
I know. God, I mean, kids
Yet
need.
they're constantly covering it.
Kids need sex ed. It's true. Well, I mean, I guess that's it. They need sex ed. They don't need this.
Pickup artist ed. High school pickup artist ed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's talk about The Pretender. How does this movie start off?
It starts with the three knuckleheads, the three stooges, razzing on all of the girls that they did not see over the summer. And so they're seeing them for the first time on the first day of school.
Look at Sandy, man. Boy, she really ballooned over the summer.
She's bigger than anyone on the football team.
She's bigger than the whole team, man.
Hey, Marcy Adams did it over the summer.
Did what?
She got uglier.
Hey, there's Donna Perkins. Can you believe Richard went out with her this summer?
Yeah, I can. Richard go out with anybody. What are you talking about?
Hey, Robin Williamson's looking pretty good.
Yeah, but she's still dating that college dude.
Yeah, he can have her. She ain't that good.
Look at this, first day of school and we got the same dogs as last year.
I feel like we've seen this a lot in Christiano Brothers movies, especially the ones that take place in school settings with like the zingers are just flying a mile a minute. A lot of body shaming. Oh, it's just exclusively body shaming. And there we have Keith, who sets his eyes on, what's her name?
Dana Stratton.
Dana Stratton, the Christian girl, the one Christian girl at the school. Yeah, he proclaims he's going to seduce her over the course of the next 3 weeks. This movie's kind of like the anti-Porkies, where they're like only trying to get laid once as slowly as possible. No matter how long it takes.
Yeah. And then he reels off all the ways he's picked up other girls who he did not have the same interest in. Because that's how he sees Christianity. He's like, okay, that's her chief interest.
Right.
So I need to learn about that chief interest to get into her pants.
Right.
One time, I got to confess.
Go off.
One time I said that I liked the Dave Matthews Band. So I'd make out with a girl.
Wow.
Had some ants marching of your own that night.
Yeah. I had to go on the northeastern leg of their tour over the course of a month to seduce this woman to make out with me.
Really?
Wait, were you on the tour bus when they dumped all that shit in the river in Chicago?
Yeah, I was the one who pulled the lever.
Just to impress a girl?
Yeah, I mean, it was much like this movie. It was a long process.
Yes. Was it worth it? Like, do you look back on the experience and think it was time well spent?
No, it was not worth it.
Yeah.
Definitely something I'm not proud of.
Sure. I mean, we have to go there, sometimes, it's all part of figuring this out.
Exactly.
But it seems like Keith in this movie, like, really has a system down. Yeah. He says, I was talking to a girl who was into art. I read a book about art. I took her to an exhibit. She thought my name was Keith Picasso.
Thought you knew my technique by now.
What technique?
Who'd I date last summer?
Kelly.
How'd I get her?
You got lucky.
Yeah, you wish. She was into art. So I got to know a little bit about art. I read a book, went to a museum, and then I asked her out to an exhibit. From that time on, she thought I was Keith Picasso. And a couple months later, I got what I wanted and dumped her.
Sounds like a lot of trouble to go to just for a girl.
Well, look, let's just call it homework. Last winter, who'd I date? Melanie. How'd I get her? The same way. She was into jazz, right? So I got a little bit about the artist, bought a few records, and asked her out to a concert. 3 months later, she was off the chart.
To him, Christianity is just like what she's an otaku for. You know, he doesn't understand. Keith doesn't understand that he is in way over his head. I mean, the hoops that he jumps through in this movie are remarkable to me. I think following an entire Dave Matthews tour is like less effort than Keith puts in this movie.
He really does work so hard. I mean, that's the point of this movie, right? To like stick to it, and even if you don't reach your goal, like it's about the journey.
Yes, yeah. Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll come among the stars. You know. Yeah. Keith finds Dana. He sees her from afar. So to kick off his plan to get with Dana, he's like, he explains it. So he has this all mapped out, like elaborately. And I just really feel like he makes it a little too difficult for himself, but he's like so certain that it's hard not to get like intoxicated by his enthusiasm. But the first thing is he needs to convince his former best friend or, former main friend group guy, Frank. He needs to convince Frank that he's a Christian because Frank, you see, became a Christian and left the old crew behind. What do you think about that? I thought that was like a really interesting implication in this movie, basically that like becoming a Christian is a complete and total life change, and you're gonna leave your friends if they don't get it, and you're gonna be happy about it. You're gonna be happy and more secure that you've done this. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's the lesson of his quote that he tells Keith, which is that we've already referenced a few times, but he tells Keith, when you come to Jesus, you got to come all the way.
Love and obedience, they go hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other.
This is good stuff, man.
In other words, I like to put it this way. If you come to Jesus, you come all the way.
If you come to Jesus, come all the way.
That's great.
There's no half measures. You can't be hanging out. You can't be some freak hanging out with, prostitutes and scumbags all day long. You gotta hang out with Jesus, and he would never do anything like that.
Yeah.
No fence sitters.
Right.
Choose a side.
Yeah, and I just thought that first of all, when I went to lunch in high school, I would always sit with the tax collectors. Okay, because I'm not a snob like many. But yeah, it's true. Like, he just, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I just thought it was really interesting how when he encounters Frank, seemingly for the first time in a while, Frank is like just as fast talking and like full of quips as everyone in this movie. But as soon as Keith starts talking to Frank, Frank's like, what's on your mind, man? His whole like attitude is dripping with like, I'm better off now than I was with you guys, and I know it, and I don't care, and I don't care what you say. Even though I see you around school all the time or whatever, it's like, I'm better off.
Yeah, I got a job delivering pizzas.
Yeah, I heard.
Great job, man. You get to meet a lot of people, get to know the streets.
Oh, great, Keith. Maybe when you graduate, you can get a job with the highway department.
That's a good one, Frank. I'm glad to see you still have your sense of humor.
Where's all this going, Keith?
Look, Frank, I know our paths haven't crossed much lately, but I think that's going to be changing.
Yeah? What makes you think that?
You see, this summer, last month, I became a Christian.
You want to run that by me again?
I became a Christian, just like you did.
Christian? What is this, some kind of a joke?
Would I joke about something like this?
Yeah, he doesn't care about Keith at first. He's just like, what are you up to? Which fair enough with what we've seen of Keith at that point, but also not fair enough because the way he acts later, you would think he would be trying harder to convert Keith because he loves him, because he keeps giving Keith a hard time about him not talking to his friends. But in the meantime, he doesn't even engage with Keith until Keith pretends that he became a Christian.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, where is the love, as the Black Eyed Peas once said. But yeah, so Frank becomes like one of the most important characters in the film. He runs cross country. He's an athlete. His cross country meets become like a huge point of socializing, which is, again, one of the most boring sports to watch. It's not even running track.
Yeah, you can't even watch most of it.
Right. You stand in one spot and then like they run a 5K. It's not like you're running with them.
Right.
So, you know, I really can't imagine, you know, why they would want to do that. But where does he go from there? He enlists Frank. Well, he tricks Frank. He tells Frank, "Oh yeah, my cousin from California converted me to Christianity, and I have some questions." But there's like a lot of steps he takes after that. What are some other things he does?
He really just keeps seeing Frank as much as he can to get like insider info, and then he just parrots this info back to other known Christians. And he asks Frank like, "Hey, so this church I've been going to sometimes right by my house is not that great. I don't think I want to go back. You have any other recs?" And then he he asks a few questions before he asks things that pertain to Dana, so it's not as suspect.
Yeah, he ends up picking up a lot of literature other than the Bible along the way, and even gets a lessons on Christian music too.
So do you like Christian music?
I didn't know there was such a thing. Weston Davis, never heard of him. It's any of that hard rock stuff, is it?
No, silly.
Oh, good. I hate all that. It's of the devil.
He also, one of the funniest moments in the movie, which also really shows just like how blistering the pacing is there's that one like joke where it's just one line. It's a new location only for one line of like a Christian bookstore. And he says,
Excuse me, sir. Which one of these Bibles is the one Jesus preached out of?
He doesn't really know how all this works.
He's a real noob.
Yeah. But he's getting himself in deeper and deeper. Like he really like, I mean, he's enlisting his friends. He's going to church. He's saying stuff to Dana.
He goes to weeknight fellowships with her at her church even.
Yeah. Like the way I would compare it to, like, I just feel like what he's doing is the equivalent of, he's like, okay, there's this hot girl at school and she has a lot of gay friends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend to be gay. Hey, listen, guys, can we practice like sucking each other's dicks so I know what it's like? And then he goes to his friend Tony and he's like, hey, would you mind maybe, like fucking me up the ass just so I know how it feels like. So like, when Dana asks, it's just, I just really feel like he just embeds himself like way too deeply than he needs to. It's very stressful. Actually.
I've never heard of gay music before.
He's listening to Vroom Vroom by Charlie XCX.
Yeah, well, it seems like he goes the right amount of deep into this because Dana's falling for it.
Oh, it's working. It really is working.
I really thought that this was going to be a movie where he plays himself,
Yes, me too.
His plan was to get into Christianity until he could have sex with this lady, and then he just ends up getting so into Christianity that he no longer wants to sleep with her. But as we see,
converts to Christianity. I assumed
exactly.
that would happen.
Me too.
Yeah, but as we'll see, that is not the case. The Christiano Brothers have a little trick up their sleeve, like they always do.
They always do.
They're the masters of twists.
Yeah, they're like the M. Nights of Christian cinema.
I mean, I wish M. Night had anywhere close to the subtlety of the Christianos.
It's surprising too because these movies are so old, and they're like, some of them feel like they are the inspiration for so many other Christian movies that are so predictable that you expect. At least I expect when I watch some of these, like I expect this one to be like, oh yeah, this is the original one where the guy pretends to be Christian, ends up becoming Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody does it like the Christianos.
Truly. No, I really thought the same thing. Honestly, as predictable as it was, as predictable as it could have been, I feel like that plot actually lends itself to a kind of good and wholesome Christian message, which is that just like through exposure to the word, like genuine exposure to the word, you can, you know, pick up these things that become very meaningful to your life. But this movie was just really off the rails. Like, well, I guess
all the things he's setting up. I mean, he sets up that chance encounter with like another friend of his and Frank, so that they get in like a yelling argument when Frank's like, I became a Christian, that's why we don't hang out anymore, and they're about to fight. And then Keith is out on his pizza delivery run, and he's had this all set up so that like he comes just in time to break up the fight and cool them down and say like you know, take it easy, Frank. They like what does he say even? He's basically just like talking about giving them another chance. And
he's like, hey, Tony's not going to convert in front of his buddies. Like, you know, let's regroup and do this another time, you know?
Right.
But in doing that, he created with Tony and his entire gang's help, who are all there's a team of like 15 people working on getting Keith to just like put his hand up a girl's shirt.
And he reports back to them so much, his two friends. He reports back to them so much that I would really love to see the other half of this movie where just those two guys talk about this guy behind his back and what they have to say about his newfound obsession with pretending to be Christian and doing nothing else in his spare time.
That would have been really good.
Yeah, but no, this is really like his only hobby now. Like, he is one of the most cum-brained men I've seen in a Christian film. Like, he just like, it's the only thing on his mind. Like, no exaggeration. Like, there are just so many paths of less resistance to getting what he wants. This is like a Rube Goldberg machine of trying to fuck. Like, it just
his final
really
plan is so funny. To get the girl to go over to his place and have the note saying that his grandpa was in the hospital to explain why the parents were away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be this hard, dude.
But he's so enthusiastic doing it. He's so excited.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who like always knows the answer. Like, he always knows the right thing to say and he always knows the answer. And frankly, he's like very obnoxious, which is like sort of the point, I know, but still, you know, there's that thing when like there's that very brief moment, which I thought was pretty good writing, which is like during the football game, Keith almost like fights some guy, as you already said, but when Keith has that, like, he almost confronts that other guy for claiming that he was out of bounds. And when he notices that Frank is watching and he drops the fight, he says to that kid, he's like, "Oh man, sorry I got tough with you. I was just trying to make sure that you were a good referee is all, you know?" Again, he's such a fast talker. He's such a smarmy, like, fast talker. Like, he always knows what to say.
He's focused.
Very focused. Very focused.
Yeah. Somebody get Congress on the line. And I think we found a new member.
But Doctor, I am the clown in Congress. I just think that, yeah, you know, for him to be so dedicated, like putting the hours to going to all these church services and stuff. I mean, in between his job, I mean, he must put like 10 hours a week in just being as good of a Christian he can be. Really remarkable.
Yeah, his grades might be slipping at this point between the pizza delivery and just focusing on hooking up with Dana.
Mm-hmm. But like, other than like going into the final arc of when his plan is foiled, are there any like funny moments or stuff that we didn't mention before we explicate the last act?
I like when there's like those scenes where he just kind of like, I don't know, like I think we were all kind of like, when we were starting thinking about he should be in Congress, was that scene when they're like by the docks or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you know, affection versus passion. Look at all these teen pregnancies and shit, or whatever he says about like kind of like railing against teen sexuality to use a cover.
Yeah. Yeah, that was so slimy. Yeah, he is just trying to like, get her more comfortable with him to, eventually have sex with her, but the whole time he's playing like the obvious hand. He's like using the power of suggestion of what's right in front of your face, and he's saying like, yeah, teenage sexuality is a huge problem. And there's that thing where he's talking with Frank and he says like, what do you think is the biggest problem with Christian youth? Is it drugs or violence, or is it sex? I think it's sex. And he says sex like 3 times.
Tell me, what do you think the number one problem is with Christian youth today? Drinking, drugs, or sex?
I don't think it's any of those.
Come on, Frank, it's gotta be sex. I mean, look at all the Christians sitting there.
I don't think that's it.
Come on, Frank, it's gotta be sex. I know it's sex.
No, it's not.
What is it then?
I just don't love Jesus.
He's like, it's got to be sex. It's sex, right? It's definitely sex.
And Frank is like, I don't think it's any of those things. I think it's that people don't love Jesus.
Which, I don't know. That seems like something else.
It seems like something else.
Actually, one thing that I did think was a little weird. Frank gave his opinion of what a real Christian is. I remember thinking like, I don't know if I quite agree with that.
Yeah, can you expound on that a little more?
I'm trying to think of what exactly he said. We can pipe it in, of course, but he says something along the lines of like following all of Jesus' teachings is what makes you a Christian.
Yeah.
All right, well, the first thing I want you to do is to memorize a verse, okay? In John 14:15, Jesus makes this great statement. He says, if you love me, you keep my commandments. See, as far as I'm concerned, that's what being a Christian is really all about. It's just loving Jesus and really wanting to serve him. I gotta warn you, Keith, there are some people out there who say they love Jesus, but then they don't even bother obeying him. I don't know, what's that, halfway Christian? There's really no such thing.
And I think like that's inherently not true.
Yeah.
Like the point is that like you know that you're a sinner and that Jesus forgives you for those sins because like you can't follow all of the rules all the time because you're human.
Yes. Yeah. The point is that you can't, and that you admit that you can't. And, it doesn't mean you just give yourself a pass to do whatever you want. I mean, you have to try, but no, I think you're pointing out what I now realize is like a huge flaw of the Christiano Brothers films, in my opinion. Which is that like they always have these characters who are supposed to be like examples in a film, and they're just like perfect. Like there's so many like perfect teens in Christiano Brothers films, like Dana, like Frank.
Yeah, they're basically Bob Revere characters where you just assume they won't do anything wrong because their heart and head is in the right place. And so because this character in this movie is doing the best that they can, that means everything they do will be the right thing because they're Christians.
Exactly. And I think that that's just like very unapproachable and unrealistic. I mean, similar to how watching this film, you get the idea that like if you become a Christian, you have to leave all your friends behind. The Christianos just seem really obsessed with like casting everything to the wind and like starting a new life. And I don't know. I just think that seems very scary for a kid. I wouldn't want to, leave all my friends behind. That doesn't seem fun. Yeah, my friends might not always do the right thing, but like,
shouldn't you still love them?
Yeah,
and try
sure.
to like share something you're passionate about with them.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it can be tough, when you're a kid to do the right thing. Yeah, if all your friends are in a situation, they want to do something, it can be easy to get peer pressured into something, even if you don't feel fully comfortable. But like, you can take control and suggest things to do that are fun for you, that you would be comfortable, and see if your friends want to do it. You know what I mean? It's like there's just so many other ways, I think, to think about this rather than saying like, well, now that you're a Christian, you can only hang out with the Christian kids, and everything you're going to do is going to be right because you're a Christian. I think it makes Christianity very intimidating, personally, very scary.
What's more intimidating from this movie? Being a Christian at this high school or being a pickup artist at this high school?
I mean, both. Like, I feel like people at this high school see through you no matter what. Like, you can't hide a thing at this high school.
Yeah, true.
Should we talk about the final push of this film? How Keith's perfect plan finally gets foiled?
So as we said earlier, Keith initiates this final plan to get Dana over to his house, just the two of them alone. And he tells his friends that he's going to trick her into coming over, expecting his parents to be there. But he knows his parents are going to be gone. And to explain their absence, he writes a fake note from his parents saying that his grandpa is in the hospital, which adds another layer of emotional manipulation onto his plan by having him and Dana come home and then him immediately finding out that his grandpa supposedly had a heart attack, leaving him in a very vulnerable position. But what happens that causes Frank is getting increasingly suspicious of Keith.
Frank is back in Tony's alley, and he's like talking to Tony about the other night in the alley. And Tony's like, basically Tony eventually is like, oh, come on, that's just, are you buying this from Keith? I mean, he just wants to get with Dana, basically. Like, you really think he's a Christian now?
Look, 2 years ago, I became a Christian. Now, Keith became one this summer. You got to look into things.
You're really missing it, Frank.
What?
Keith ain't one of you. He's no Jesus freak.
Hey, man, Keith's a believer now.
Wake up, man. Keith's just after some chick.
Some chick?
No, girl.
What are you talking about?
We got a few shots of Frank sort of looking suspiciously at Keith and Dana as they're seen spending more and more time together, just the two of them at school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the seeds of doubt have already been sown. It's just Tony that waters them.
There's some other seeds that are about to get sown, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So then Frank runs to the pizza shop where Keith's best buddies also work, and they're both working, and he's like, "Where's Keith?" And they're like, "I don't know. How would I know?" And he's like, "Come on, where are they?" And they're like, "All right, he went on a date with Dana. They went to get food, and then I don't know what." And he's like, "Yeah, I bet you don't know what." And then he takes off.
Yeah. At this point, Frank is furious at the thought of his friend Keith getting laid.
Yeah. He might even just be mad that he's thinking about them thinking about getting laid. I don't know.
Oh, that he's mad that Keith made him sin by thinking about the two of them having sex.
Yeah, I'm at the edge of committing mind adultery.
Dude, it cannot be emphasized enough that this young man is speeding down the suburban streets. He's probably following the speed limit, but proverbially, he is speeding. He's going exactly 35 miles per hour down the suburban streets in order to prevent his friend from fucking. Is this man fucking with the right intentions? No. But whom among us between the ages of 16 and 18, okay? And what would you do if for the first time you were like possibly having a sexual experience, your friend literally fucking drove across town, like white knuckling the steering wheel just to make sure that your dick didn't get hard? I mean, come on.
It's pretty extreme.
It's extreme.
We were joking about this is really funny. I just want to bring this up again. But we were joking about like Keith laser targeting his penis at Dana's crotch and Frank busting in like the bodyguard jumping in front of the dick. No.
And just fucking taking one for the team.
Throws a Bible at his erection.
I mean, that's basically what happens. No, he gets in there and, they're getting a little closer on the couch. Nothing has happened yet. Let's
He kissed her on the cheek.
Okay.
Yeah, and his arms over her on the couch.
And during the little like weird montage, he gives her a kiss on the cheek, which I don't know, that kind of disturbed me, to be honest.
Yeah.
To see somebody court one person trying to court another person and it is not reciprocated really makes my skin crawl.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, this reminds me. So I was on a plane recently, and
the person sitting next to you kissed you on the cheek.
Well, did you kiss him back?
And it was Bill Murray, and he said, "No one will ever believe you." So there was this guy on the plane who was like about my age, and my flight was delayed by like 2 hours, which sucked. And we were all just waiting by the gate for an announcement. And this motherfucker was just going around one by one, chatting up every like pretty girl who was there alone, of which there were like 3.
Oh my God.
And he was just like having a conversation with them, like, relatively like innocent. One of these things is happening. They were both sitting like right by me. I was literally trying to edit the podcast and I couldn't focus because this guy annoyed me so much. I was just like sitting at the gate. And he was just like saying things like, just being like, where are you from? Oh, like, what's your favorite food? Like, what's your favorite? Like just like grilling these girls about just like absolutely anything. And they were like all being very polite. But he would just like visibly like talk to one for a while and then go and talk to the other and then like go back and like talk to one. And I was just like,
oh my God.
I was just like, dude, like, you are so pathetic, man. And it just like made me feel so weird. To what you were saying, Julian, it just like made me feel so weird to like see like mass courting like happening in front of me. It just like fucking keep that shit to yourself, man. Like that's perverted. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was just a very strange interaction. Just like getting to observe someone's like mild horniness being like sublimated into these like very uncomfortable like public conversations. Anyways, that's how I felt watching this movie.
So weird, especially at an airport. Like you literally could be going anywhere in the world right now.
Right.
But
What's
yeah, he just
wanted to talk to girls. What can I say, man? We love girls, right?
And twins.
Yeah. Anyway, I just found it to be he seemed.
What was he saying to him? He's like, some people call me a Dave Picasso. Some people call me a Dave Coltrane. Some people call me a Dave Cristiano.
He was like, hey, what God you worship, girl? I don't know. Like I said, there's nothing like exactly wrong with what he was doing. It just made me very, very mad. And I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to have to be there exposed to him. And that's how I felt watching this movie. I didn't want to watch this happen, But yeah. So how does it end? So Frank obviously breaks up this wild rutting, this heavy petting.
Yeah, he knocks on the door and then Keith opens it and he just bursts straight into his house, just unhesitatingly, because with his righteous anger. And then he still, did you guys think it was weird that he still doesn't even like explain what the deal is in front of both of them at once?
No.
Like he's still like, but bro code, so we'll talk about this outside and I'm not going to do this in front of you. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, like what was the point of that? Was it to be like, to save Keith's pride in some way? I don't know. I didn't really understand why he wouldn't just be like, here's the deal, Dana. He's not really a Christian. He's tricked you.
Yes.
Or was that to spare Dana? I don't know. I don't know how
like,
good his Frank's intentions are.
Well, it's just one of those.
I gotta agree with Frank here on this one. I mean, if you're gonna bust in the middle of this, like, you gotta de-escalate somehow from there. Otherwise, you're risking all kinds of emotions flying off the handle.
Yeah.
I applaud him for hopefully saying breaking the news separately.
Okay, so you approve of him being like, Dana, get in my truck now. I'll explain later.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just feel
I'll explain at a second location.
I mean, I just feel like if he's already gonna go as far as to bust this guy's door down, so this guy won't bust his dick, then you should just just do it. Like, why fucking like prolong this anymore? Like, you've already gone, in my opinion, over the line. Because again, like, you know, you sort of have to let people like make their own mistakes sometimes. I mean, I don't know. It would be different if like, they were, God, I don't know, going to do something like actually dangerous. I mean, I guess that you could argue this is morally dangerous, but it's like, Dana can like say no if stuff goes too far, like, why is he
more the concern is that realistically, if this guy has spent the last like month on some long con to pretend to be Christian, I feel like there's other risk factors at play.
How far will he go at this point?
For instance, maybe her not to get too upsetting.
That's a good point.
No, might not necessarily be the end of the discussion.
That's a good point. I guess that is
when you find out this guy who's been sociopathically like reintroducing himself as your new best friend and like asking all these questions about like where this girl goes to church and what she likes to do. And
right.
Yeah, it could be. I guess I just wanted the drama of them like all yelling at each other at once.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
In this pretend world, there's a lot of other things that could have a lot less variables.
That's true. I mean, yeah, because that's the thing with this movie, like, because it is in this like shiny Cristiano world, like, I mean, maybe the subtext is supposed to be that like you could get yourself, in a situation that could be pretty bad, like an assault situation. But like, I guess, the fact that thought didn't even like cross my mind until now is just because like I was inhabiting the Cristiano like shiny, like soft glow, like world.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean? It was like, that didn't even like cross my mind as a possibility of this interaction because I knew I was in Cristiano land and like they would never let it get that far.
I was thinking that what they had established earlier was that the problem is when affection turns to passion.
I'll give it to you straight. I think there are two things you need to remember when you're talking about dating. Well, the first thing is, Jesus has to be the center of the relationship.
Of course.
Second, well, you need to be real careful when it comes to the physical stuff, I mean, because that's where most couples have their downfall. I think what you need to do is determine affection versus passion.
Affection versus passion?
Yeah.
So as soon as they like lack lips, then like that would be too far. So
yeah.
The fact that he kissed her on the cheek means that like at least one of them is feeling passion. We don't know where Dana is at that exact moment or not, because she obviously has shown some interest, even if it is based on total falsehood.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think I might have peeled back the restrictions of fiction a little too much.
Well, no,
I mean, you're talking about realistic high school scenarios.
Yeah.
And
given
Christiano
this movie
world.
and the people who wrote it, he absolutely was. The only reason he was there was to keep them from doing anything premarital, whether or not it is both parties are consenting.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, I thought you made a really good point. But yeah. But after that, it's not quite the end of the film. We go back to school. Keith is back with his buds like nothing ever happened, just, talking the same old bullshit. Okay. And Dana walks by and sees him and locks eyes with him and frowns and goes away. And I thought, honestly, I was like, she's never wanted it more than that moment. It's like, she seemed like
forbidden
This
fruit.
is all Keith's plan. Frank just played himself. Don't you understand, Frank?
This is exactly what I wanted you to do.
Yeah, my man is like Jigsaw. But so he does not get the girl. In fact, he hurts Dana to the point where she doesn't even want to associate with him. But Frank doesn't quite give up. Frank yells at Keith, but then says, "Hey, you want to come bowling with me on Friday?" And Keith is like, "Don't you ever give up."
Yeah, and he says, you know what Dana did in the car after we left? And he's like, well, whatever. And he says, she cried her eyes out and then prayed for you. And Keith is like, so?
Damn, dude. Isn't that what you wanted?
And so
Yeah, all that work.
Yeah.
Dude.
And
Yeah.
it was so funny that he said so to that, because I really thought at that moment he was going to like pause and be like, really?
I'm still in the game, baby. Oh, yeah, that too. That,
something.
Yeah, that
something.
too.
I just like, whatever, over it.
Yeah, it became, she was completely out of his mind at that point. Again, she was really just kind of like a prop in this film. Like, honestly, it was really like the boys, that had all the action going around them, their moral decisions and stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, at no point do they ever ask Dana how she feels about this whole situation.
Right.
And when we do kind of get a glimpse of her feelings about it in that interaction between Frank and Keith, it's just delivered secondhand by Frank.
Yeah.
For all we know, he's making it up.
Right.
Yeah.
But the movie ends with a very Cristiano vibe. Keith literally says to Frank, "Hey, Frank," long pause, which is very reminiscent, of course, of the classic David A.R. White ending. God, what's the name of the character? He says, "Hey, blank.
Hey, Scotty."
Hey, Scotty. Of course. How could I forget? Hey, Scotty. Jesus, man. In this movie, we literally get a, "Hey, Frank." But the line he delivers is like somehow way more deranged. He references something from earlier in the film, it's just like really shoehorned in. And of course, it's like the most suggestive line in the whole movie. He ends it with, "Hey, Frank, when I come to Jesus, I'll come all the way."
Hey, Frank. If I ever come to Jesus, I'll come all the way.
It's just like, come on, man.
He's just so horny.
He's so horny. Like, he honestly kind of reminds me, like, in a weird way, of the character from Simon Hanselman's comic, the character Werewolf Jones. Simon Hanselman's been posting a strip to Instagram like this week where Werewolf Jones has this plan where he's like, "Oh, I have a great idea. We'll go to the arcade and we'll put up an empty box that looks like a cabinet and I'll put my dick through it. Like, bingo, free hand jobs." And it's just like, I honestly feel like that's sort of Keith's logic in The Pretender. Like, he's so confident it's going to work. Like he is so horny, but he approaches it in a way that's like almost avant-garde.
And Frank is Owl.
Yes, absolutely. Frank is Owl. But it's just like, yeah, I don't know if I've seen a man down this bad in a Christian film since I'm in Love with a Church Girl starring Ja Rule.
Yeah. He basically does the same thing, or
Yeah.
like he like suggests that he wants to like get back into Christianity, but then he really does.
Well, I think that movie does a better job at this plot. I mean, The Pretender was really, really fun. I mean, it's a nail-biting watch. But I'm in Love with the Church Girl, I think actually like explores the scenario, which again, predictable, sure, but is a message that's worth hearing over and over again, which I think is like true to Christianity, which is like, legitimately, if you are exposed to a Christian message, if you read the Bible, if you go to church, things will rub off on you and you will be sincerely touched because it's very powerful stuff. Like, I think that's the truth. Actually, that brings me to like my big picture thing here for this is that I think we're in an interesting like era of meme Christianity, where a lot of people are Christian, including myself, kind of like semi-ironically. And like our friends run that meme page, I Need God in Every Moment of My Life. We've had them on the show
a really
before.
good post directly related to that either today or yesterday.
I think that's why I'm thinking of it. But yeah, there's certainly this one that's just it's an angel with two heads, and it just says irony, sincerity, whatever. I love God. And like, I mean, I just think that like part of the reason I relate to their page and I think why it resounds with so many people is because like, and honestly, like legitimately, this has sort of been like my path to like being, I don't even really know if I'm like Christian or not. If I'm not, I read the Bible all the time and I do a Christian podcast. Like I don't what I'm trying to say is like, at some point, like, does it matter? Like, I don't know why we have to put all the, I don't know why we have to live as perfectly as a Christiano Brothers character to be Christian. Like, shouldn't loving God being enough,
I mean, you could argue that the Christiano Brothers are not the definitive source of what makes a person a Christian or not.
You could argue. I'm willing to hear that argument personally. Yeah. Any other like thoughts? Something we didn't get to say about The Pretender before we go into our rating?
Just that scene that made it really clear that Keith was a men's rights activist. And he's like, look at all these, when they're like, Keith, don't you feel bad about this? And he's like, this is like halfway through the movie. He's like, look at all these girls dress and flirt and what, things along those lines. Of like, they, basically just like, they're asking for it. Of course they want me.
Keith, man, don't you feel just a little bit guilty about using these chicks?
Are you kidding? No way. Look, they use us more than we use them. I mean, look how they dress, tease, and flirt. Look, man, Dana may be religious, but that's not going to stop me. She's interested. You just keep watching.
Yeah. No, there was a strong PUA, MRA, MGTOW. Well, no, I guess not that. But there was a very distinct PUA and MRA vibe to this film. It was done in this very squeaky clean Cristiano way, but yeah, no, I mean the men in this film just see women as like, basically not people, just either untouchable or like, people with which to express their sexual desires. The beginning of the film was just the first line of the film is like, that girl's fat. That was like literally the first thing you hear, like when the screen is still black. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? Should we give this film a rating?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good to me. What then is the official Boys Bible Study rating of The Pretender by Dave Cristiano?
I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really well paced. The Cristianos have done it again, although this was mostly Dave Cristiano. Not sure who did the score since there was no credit for it, but that was really good too. Maybe it was Dave Cristiano as well, because I believe he did the score for the Daylight Zone just a year before. But I'm going to have to give this, let's say, 10 out of 10 pizzas paid to a gang to trick your Christian friend into thinking that you're a better Christian than you are.
That's a perfect score, folks. Yet another extreme banger from our friends, the Cristianos. What do you think, Julian? I don't have one yet.
I want to see a version of this kind of movie where the guy pretends to be quiverful to get with the girl. And ends up having like 13 kids.
Before she realizes he's not a Christian.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But other than that, it was a perfect movie. I'm going to take the finishing times of our 5 main characters and add them all up and see who has the lowest score, and we'll give that this movie has the lowest score, giving it first place.
Hey, look, Frank, you're going to have to explain to me how a cross-country meet is scored. I know you guys won, but I just don't know how.
All right, well, I'll put it all down on paper for you after we're done today.
All right, just don't forget, okay?
I won't.
found out how a cross-country meet scored.
Oh, yes? How?
Well, you add up the totals of the top 5 runners from each team, and low score wins.
Low score wins. I'll remember that.
Let me tell you, Keith is finishing pretty quick. All right.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Yeah. Okay. So as for me, I would say, once again, our boys, the Christianos, have done it. They made a film that was bite-sized, but full of fun and characters that we came to know and love. You can see why they were a hit in churches and Sunday schools across the country. I'm going to have to give this one 2 out of 2 brothers, because as we've learned from Christian films, brothers do it better. And we have the Kendricks, we have the Christianos. The Christianos especially, I mean, they changed the whole game. And this is another perfect film from them. So there you have it. We hope you'll check out The Pretender. You can find it on YouTube, as you can many of the Christiano Brothers. Support indie filmmaking, okay? Stream the Christiano Brothers on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to hear more of our episodes, go to boysbiblestudy.com. There's links to all of the places where you can find our show and subscribe. Also, if you really like the show and you want to hear more and you want to support us, check out patreon.com/boysbiblestudy. For just $5 a month or more, you get access to our whole catalog of bonus episodes, and we make at least 2 new ones every month. So you'll always have the most pure, wholesome content. Shout outs to our patrons at the $20 tier, our patron saints. We love you so much. Nicole, Marissa, Jeff, and Jane. Thank you for your generous support. If you want to be recognized in the esteemed way they are, consider bumping your pledge up to $20 a month. Our outro music is Oh My God by Mary. From all of us here at Boys Bible Study, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, we would like to say, peace be with you.
And also with you all the way.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day you